I'm Laura Rance, and I'm here today with Bruce Burnett with Glacier Farm Media. He's a weather and market analyst, and we're going to talk about crop conditions on the prairies. Bruce, I know driving out yesterday, we saw lots of evidence of the wild and wacky weather we've been having this summer. What did you see? First of all, just walk us through where you went on your trip.
Well, this year, because of the problems that we've had in the northern grain belt, I did focus more on the northern growing regions. So from essentially Manitoba, north of Riding Mountain National Park, all the way across to Edmonton, taking a look at crops. But I also went through some of the southern and central areas of the prairies as well. And I think excess moisture is a theme this year. Even in the southern growing areas, there were some unplanted places, as well as more prominently low spots that were still drowned out from some of the rains just recently, as well as during the spring. So this year's been a struggle for a lot of farmers, but I would say certainly in the northern grain belt, we've seen some very, very trying weather, and there's a lot of area that's not planted this year up in those regions.
Did you get any sense of what proportion? I mean, do we know what the unseeded acres might look like across the prairies this year?
My estimate right now is somewhere between 2 and 4 million acres from what the Statistics Canada estimate was. Again, every year we lose a little bit of area because of changes due to the weather, but this year it's going to be a significant change. There is a lot of unplanted area across the northern grain belt where you will see, sections of land that aren't planted. And they just basically ran out of time to plant.
We had a late spring. We had a cold spring, then we had wet weather. Where did it stop? Like, just walk us through the kind of scenarios that farmers have dealt with?
Well, again, farmers have struggled to get the crops planted in areas where they did get it planted. Spraying has been an issue. There's a lot of crops that need spraying, but didn't get spraying in the proper time frame. The other thing I think to note is there's about 10 to 15% of the crop in the northern growing areas is extremely late. So for cereal crops, still in the boot stage or not headed out here in the third week in July. And canola, a surprising number of fields that still had not, were just in the rosette stage, just starting to bloom. So those crops are going to require frost-free days into the middle of September, optimistically. And we do need some warm weather in order to bring those crops along.
The prevailing story of the last several years across the prairies has really been drought. Are we comfortable saying that drought is over?
I think temporarily the drought's over. These things do go in cycles. We go through wet cycles, we get to do dry cycles. We have now entered a bit of a wet cycle. How long it lasts is anybody's guess. But certainly it's a dramatic change over the very dry conditions we've seen over the past 3 years, in some cases 4 and 5 years across the prairies.
Do we have adequate moisture for the crops that are out there this year?
We do have adequate moisture, with the proviso that there are some areas that have started to dry off with this heat. The one thing I would note is that in a lot of fields, the root structure was not ideal. And so some fields weren't showing any signs of drought stress yet, but probably need another rain before the filling or potting stage finishes for those crops to reach their yield potential.
And about this heat, it hit right when a lot of the canola was in full bloom. Is there a concern about heat blast?
I think we did shorten the growing season on canola in some areas. I would say especially in those areas that got planted earlier, so more in the southern and parts of the central growing areas of the prairies. Again, if you got the crop planted and it was up and it looks very good and you've had some rain, so moisture isn't an issue, but certainly did see some crops winding up their growing season in the case of canola.
So the implication for that is lower yield, do you think? Or
yeah, it'll put a cap on the yields. The yield potential was probably very high, and it's been curtailed a bit. But again, I think the yields in those cases are going to be something the farmer is going to be pleased with as compared with farmers that didn't even get the crop planted.
So it's kind of a win or lose scenario this year. Like, I mean, driving out again, there's some beautiful looking fields out there.
Yeah.
Is that going to make up from a total production perspective on the unseeded acres, do you think?
It's going to partially make up for it, but certainly not enough. So our production is going to be down year on year. We had actually an excellent production year last year across the prairies. And so by losing this area, because there's not only that area, but the area that got drowned out after the crop was planted, we're going to struggle to reach last year's area. The other thing, or last year's total production. The other thing is we've changed the crop mix dramatically on the prairies, lower spring wheat and lower durum area. And that has, again, higher yield potential than canola. And so we're seeing that drop off as well. Because of the fact that we've got more canola out there.
So did you get a sense of what you are predicting for yields this year? Any sense of that?
I'm predicting yields a little bit above average, but not up to last year's levels. So basically, that's the thing right now. I am concerned mostly about those very late crops, and they could swing the balance between very excellent yields because the fields are good. They look very good. But again, what are the probabilities of getting them mature and harvested this year and into the bin? Common saying is it's not grain until it's in the bin.
Yep.
So something that we'll have to monitor. A lot of these growing conditions over the next 6 to 8 weeks are going to tell the tale on that side of the story.
As I recall, this is the first year you haven't been out on the farm helping a family member put the crop in and take it off. Seeing what you've seen unfold this year, put yourself back in the shoes of being somebody who's trying to manage this year's crop. What would it feel like?
Well, certainly it would have been a struggle this year, I think, to get the crops planted in our area. Because we're in one of those regions that received a lot of rain. So I think, yeah, from that perspective, I think, again, the people who are farming our old farm did quite well in getting the crops planted this year. But again, we'll see how things turn out because the excess moisture, something calls to mind. It's a CBC Country Canada show that I saw when I was young, and an old farmer basically says, yeah, droughts will scare you half to death and excess rain will starve you half to death. And I think that's basically what we're worried about this year.
Thanks very much, Bruce.
Thank you.